ladies and gentlemen, give a round of applause to Jose Gonzalez.
Good afternoon. Round of applause for yourself for making it out today. So, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, but first I'm going to tell you why I'm here, all right? My thing is teaching people how to think rich. I believe that there's no poor people, there's no rich people. However, there are people who think poor and people who think rich, okay? So, I'm going to talk to you about one of the key components into changing your life, which is changing the way you think, the things that you believe, the things that you say, and the things that you actually do. Before I get into that, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. So I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a coach, I'm an investor. I have a couple of businesses. One that Lewis mentioned is Keto Cooking with Love. Been a professional chef for over 25 years, struggled with health and weight. Lost 100 pounds in 5 months. I've helped hundreds of people lose thousands of pounds. I have a culture program that's exclusively for women, one that's exclusively for men, where I teach people how to get healthy based on biblical principles. My other business is that I'm a certified water analyst. I help people purify the water in their homes and businesses. So right now I'm in the transition of moving to Florida because we're opening a big office in Port St. Lucie. So I'm actually up here this week to be here with you guys. And then in addition to that, I coach people one-on-one. I have a mastermind. I do some mentorship, and but that's all around the mindset. So I want to teach you about, or share with you, who likes taxes? Good, that's what I expected. Right? I'm going to talk a little bit about taxes today. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a CPA. You should definitely consult with one. But I'm not going to talk about taxes in a practical, literal way. Like, hey, you need to apply for this earned income and you can write this off. I'm not your guy for that, okay? I'm going to talk about taxes in terms of mindset, right? Because I don't even know how taxes are defined in the dictionary. I'll tell you my definition for taxes. Taxes are things that you have to pay that you do not want to pay. Would you agree? Yeah. All right, awesome. So I'm going to share with you some ideas that will hopefully help you pay less taxes. Okay? So there's one major tax that we're all a victim of, and we're all usually unaware of. That tax is called inflation. Most people don't realize that inflation is a tax, and I'm gonna tell you why. So back in the days when politicians would run for office, they would make all these promises. And when they would win, to fulfill those promises, they would have to raise taxes, right? Because everything has a cost. So, as Nico alluded to before, our money, our US dollar, is not actually money, okay? It's a currency. There's a difference. Money is something that's a store of value, meaning that it does not lose its value. Money is something that's universally accepted as a medium of exchange, okay? There's one more, I'll come to in a second. But the reason that our money is not money is because money needs to be backed by something. So when you go back thousands of years ago, there was a lot of different things that people used for money. You use salt, you use spices, you use all types of stuff. Liquor, right? Sometimes we still use liquor for money. Like, yo, I got this bottle of Henny just come through, right? So money has to have value, has to have an intrinsic value, something that people are willing to part with something in exchange for that. But over the years, the main form of money that we have known has been gold and silver. Okay? In my community, we call gold God's money. All right? It's in the Bible. God put it in the Garden of Eden. There was no stores. There was nothing to buy. And he said it was good. Okay? So, gold and silver have, throughout history, been money. All right? Specifically gold, because gold is, it has intrinsic value. It cannot be manipulated. It can be used in so many different ways and forms. We all know kings and queens, their riches was measured in gold and silver. And just to give you some context of how it's real money and how our money is not. So the Federal Reserve was created like 1913, something like that. That's around when they created the Federal Reserve. And back then, the US dollar was backed by physical gold, right? So you had a dollar, it was the equivalent of gold. Because the purpose of money is so that we can exchange things safely, right? Like back in the days, if I had to bring all my gold with me to buy something, it's like, nah, I don't want to do that, right? So instead, I put my gold in the bank. The bank gives me a note, says he has this amount of gold. And so I just, promise. So I come to you, and I exchange it, and now you go to your bank, and they're like, okay, cool, we're gonna pay you out on that gold. But long story short, there's been a lot that's happened in this country with gold. At one point, it was illegal for U.S. citizens to hold gold. The government confiscated it all because they said, we need this gold so we can print money. We need to back it up. After World War II, a lot of countries, kept their gold with us for safekeeping because, over there in that continent, they don't know how to act. And, but over time, especially with the Vietnam War, we were spending more money than we had, they say. A lot of countries started taking back their gold because they didn't trust us. Imagine that. And so basically in 1971, Nixon took us off the gold standard and our money became fake. It became what's called fiat currency, meaning it's not backed by anything, it's just backed by a promise of the government, right? So just to give you some context of what that means in terms of dollars and cents, right? In 1965, 1 ounce of silver was worth $1, okay? Also in 1965, so $2,500 in 1965 could get you either 25 ounces of silver or a brand new Ford Mustang, okay? Fast forward today. Do you think that you can buy a brand new Ford Mustang with $2,500? Could you put a down payment on it? Probably not, right? But if you have 2,500 ounces of silver today, you can buy two brand new Ford Mustangs. Okay? Let's talk about gold, for example, right? Average price of a house in America 20 years ago, just 20 years ago, average price of a house in America was about $150,000, right? Or about 1,000 ounces of gold. Fast forward today, average price of a house in America has almost tripled, all right? We're talking about $400,000 is the average price of a house in America. But if you had the same amount of gold today, you could buy 3 houses at today's prices, okay? So why is inflation a tax? Because the government can print up money whenever it wants. During 1 month of 2020, at the height of the pandemic, the US government printed up more money in 1 month than we have in the entire history of the country. We're living real life monopoly. If you know the rules of monopoly, the bank never runs out of money, okay? So now they don't have to raise taxes for stuff. They can just print it, right? So we still have taxes because taxes are an illusion to make you feel like your money is going to something, right? It's paying for something. Why? Why do we have to tax people when we can print the money? Okay?
Brainwashing us.
That's why I said I teach people how to think rich.
That's right.
Right? Because there's no poor or rich, it's just how you think. So my encouragement for you all here is that you came here to get answers, but I hope that you leave with more questions than answers, okay? Because if you're not actively thinking about life, about money, about whatever it is, you cannot improve that, okay? You cannot understand it, and you can't help but to be a victim, all right? I'm gonna get to your question in just 1 second. Now I wanna give you this analogy. You ever play spades with somebody that can't play spades? Doesn't this person get mad that you destroy them? They don't know the rules. A lot of us live in frustration because we're broke, but we don't know the rules. Okay? So you can't look at society or this person or that person and say, I'm in this situation because of so and so when I don't know the rules. So my encouragement is that we leave here with a sense and a spirit of curiosity to learn. Okay? You had a question back there, brother?
Yes, sir. So I put this on camera. Okay. How do people like you and me, if there is a way to avoid paying taxes, how do we do it?
So that's a technical question. I'm gonna answer it like this. Taxes were created for employees. I'll give you an example. When you think of employees, you think housekeeping. You think nifty 50. How about NBA player? D'Angelo Russell plays for the Lakers, makes $31 million a year. He's in California. He pays 50% of his earned income in taxes. Now that's still a bag. It's still $15 million that he's clearing. Taxes are created for employees. Okay? So if you want to pay less in taxes, you have to learn the game. You have to have a business. You have to have something you can write things off on, right? You want to invest in real estate. Invest in real estate under the umbrella of a business. So that when you get wiped out, when something happens, that business is dead and your financial house is still in order, right? And so my encouragement is to get with professionals, people like Nico, everyone that spoke here today. Learn. Okay, go ahead. You have another question?
I don't know this, but I just feel like a good person. What is the tax breaks that ministers or people of the cloth have when it comes to this?
So that's that and the first question are both really for someone who's a tax professional, but just to answer it like in an overarching sense, churches are 501c3s, they're not-for-profits. So the same tax breaks that a church has is the same as a non-for-profit, but those specific questions are going to be more for like your tax profession, because it's gonna based on your business structure, what industry you're in.
So I have two questions.
Yeah.
So with the gold, right? Most of it is going through bank or some type of crypto, whatever, right? Now, say if there's a blackout, right? Because I've been hearing about this and stuff like that. I'm a big sticker for stuff like this, because every time we think something can't happen, it can, in the blink of an eye. I'm a person where I believe in not carrying all of your cash and stuff in the banks. Because if everything goes out, you have no access to any of your bank accounts, right?
Nope.
Which they're said that this is supposed to be coming, whatever this solar flash is supposed to knock everything out. For myself, because I have everything digitally, I wanted to know, what did you think about actually possessing the bricks? Because that is something, okay.
Yeah, so that's what I encourage people to do. I encourage people to own physical gold.
Correct, alright.
Don't keep it in your house, right? But I don't keep mine in my house, okay? But I encourage people. I teach people how to acquire physical gold, where they, I also collect. I'm also into collectibles, because it's there's like 5 major things that the wealthy keep their money in. We all know this, right? Art, right? Things that appreciate, things that have value, right? Luxury real estate and gold, silver, and real estate, right? Real estate. But those are like tangible things. So I like tangible assets. Like I'm not against anything, right? I'm not against crypto. I think you should dabble in all of that. I like tangible assets. So I do encourage people to have physical gold, and silver, and then I also do collectibles. There's also ways to have gold and silver decentralized as well, similar to crypto, which I help people with as well. So the more information that I can share with you offline.
Where do you get your physical gold from?
So there's a few companies, and there's one company that I use that is called 7K. There's another company that I use that's called Amrex. But there's a few different companies, and I recently started purchasing from Miles Franklin. So, what I encourage people is like to do your research and learn. Like it doesn't really matter. Well, there's some benefits to some, but you have to learn, right? I'm a chef, so think about it like this. Like people say to me, "Oh, how do you make this?" Right? But as a chef, I know like before you can even mess with that dish, there's some other things you need to learn, right? So like that question is like the dish, right? But before we get there, like there's some other things. So I would start with just learning, like whether it's going on YouTube and listening to videos, whether it's reading. There's a guy who puts out a newsletter every week from, he's out in Canada, his name is Jay Martin. And he puts out a newsletter every week. He has a bunch of YouTube videos. He teaches people a lot about gold and silver, and So I would just start learning, and once you start learning, then you're gonna get into a community and start finding out other names.
So I was listening to you talking. I know you said that you know not to damn play crypto or anything like that, but it sounds like you're investing into the far future where you believe everything's will come full circle again. Where eventually, you know how we stopped doing gold and silver, we went to money, dollars, crypto, and everything. You believe that? I'm not saying you believe, but do you think that everything one day is going to fail where we go back to, like I said, just trading the basics ever again? Like how at one point human beings, you know, we use hieroglyphics to talk, then we speak, and then we would do emojis all over again?
Yes, yes and no. Yes and no. I mean, so to fiat currencies means that the government can print it up, right? It doesn't need to be backed by anything. And there's a long history of failed fiat currencies, all right? It happened in Germany twice, where people needed like wheelbarrows of their cash just to buy a loaf of bread. It happened in Argentina. It happened in Zimbabwe, right? Where it was like, their inflation was in the trillions. Okay, here we talk about like what, 8%, 6%, 12%. They had like 1 trillion% inflation, right? 20 years ago, Venezuela was the 5th strongest economy in the world, and today they're in shambles. Their money is trash. Okay, right now the U.S. dollar is going on 52, 53 years. Before the U.S. dollar, there had never been a fiat currency that lasted over 50 years. Okay, so I'm not saying I believe that the U.S. dollar is going to go away, right? But maybe it doesn't, right? Maybe it doesn't. But what I'm saying is that whether it's real estate, whether it's crypto, whether it's stocks, whether it's gold and silver, I'm not saying you should get it gold and silver. I'm saying I believe you should, but I'm not saying that you should, right? That's for you to decide, right? Absolutely. But what I'm saying is that we need to have a mindset around what the purpose of money is, right? And understand what money is and what money is not. Cash is not money. I think you should save money, but cash is not money. So I don't think you should save money in the bank, right? I think that your money should flow into investments. Your money is to make money for you, right? We talk about retirement, and I have strong feelings about retirement because the whole ideology of retirement is completely screwed up. Retirement implies that you work for somebody else for X amount of decades, and then you stop working so then you can do whatever you want with your life. Like that makes no sense to me. The whole point, like every single person, no matter what you did, like if you didn't have to work, if you had enough money, you would retire, right? But then you would be bored, right? So the purpose of life, the Bible says, buy back the time because the days are evil. Meaning that we're supposed to be investing our time and doing something that makes you money so you can actually live life and contribute and serve and not just be going to a job that you hate. So the idea of retirement should be, I don't think of retirement as an age. I think of retirement like, yo, how quick can we do this? How quick can we get into a position that our money makes us money so that we can do the things that we really want to do? Like I want to spend all my time cuddled up with my wife. I don't want to work, right? Like when you're at work, cool, it's cool. You might like your co-workers, you might like what you're doing, but trust me, if you didn't have to be there, you wouldn't be there. Okay? Straight up. Straight up.
I just want to say, I love and I respect everything. And I probably can ask anybody that I know this question. But if America was to fail, where would be your place of destination?
Ooh.
I mean, so
I know you thought of this as well. I know.
but what do you mean by fail? Like the economy crashes?
Yes, sir.
We've done that a bunch of times. I ain't worried about it.
So do you have a place in mind?
I ain't worried about it. I can live anywhere.
He's talking about apocalyptic.
If it fails apocalyptic, then you know. I mean, like just to answer like you know, I want to play devil's advocate for the purpose of the question, but to tell you my real answer is, I don't care.
Is America like that?
You see what? Because the thing about it is this: is like you have contributing factors and you have determining factors, right? Contributing factors are the things that are outside of you, right? Determining factors are the things inside of you, right? So we talk about right? Like we have a culture, we talk about the baddest chick, right? To me, the baddest chick all time was Harriet Tubman, right? Because Harriet Tubman had every excuse not to be successful. Frederick Douglass had every excuse not to be successful. And we all know people who have excuses as to why they're not successful, right? So like, it doesn't matter to me. You know, if it all goes to hell, then I'll deal with it. But I wouldn't spend any of today, you know, even considering it.
So
You know
it's
what I
America
mean?
ride or die.
I wouldn't even consider because then the question becomes, all right, when that happens, then what are the good options? Like I will be answering you based on today. My answer today might change when the time comes. You know what I mean? Hold on, the lady has a question.
So, I'm thinking about emancipating myself from there. Okay, I want to be national good.
Say that again?
Emancipating myself from America, right? And what I wanted to ask you is, and you don't have to answer this right here because there might be a lot for this camera. I want to know how to access my treasury.
So that's gonna be a question for a financial plan.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's a very technical
Yes.
question. And then I would have to ask you a bunch of questions.
Okay.
That we're not gonna ask in front of the camera.
Right.
You got a question?
Yeah, so is this what you meant by thinking rich?
Absolutely, because you know most of us, it's not most of us, all of us. We're just a product of how we think because your beliefs first, what you believe determines your actions, right? Like if you believe you're gonna beat him up, you know, and he looks at you wrong, you might be willing to fight him. But if you don't believe you're gonna beat him up, you're just gonna be like, all right, well, I'm just gonna go this way. I'm gonna act like I ain't see it, right? So your beliefs determine your actions, right? Then your actions determine, you know, your results, like what you actually do, and then that determines your habits, and then your habits determine your life. But most people, we probably all heard that saying: "What would you attempt if you knew that you could not fail?" So I submit to you that all the things that you're not attempting is because you think you're gonna fail. Straight up. If you thought that something was impossible for you, you would just do it. The only thing that keeps us from doing anything
Yourself.
there's only two things that you suffer: your memory, which is your past, your imagination, which is your future.
Yeah, this was a question for the gold. So, cause you said you don't keep the gold in your house. So,
No.
where would you keep the gold?
That would be somewhere you
Well,
would put
it depends. It depends.
It's your goal, man.
Oh,
It depends. I would keep it somewhere safe
like that's
that
why
nobody knows about.
That's why people had treasures and everything, and they plant it out in the backyards and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, like that's a personal decision.
Right.
Oh, cause I'm thinking like, is it like a bank? Because I mean, you could take it to the bank too. and
Like
look at that,
I
but-
wouldn't keep mine in a safe deposit
No,
bank
that's
because
not-
let's just say that bank gets raided because the bank is looking for something else in someone else's box. I don't want my stuff around, so I don't keep it there.
Right.
You know, I could tell you offline like some places that you can, you know, keep it safe. It depends where you buy your gold from. If you know where you take delivery from, there are places that hold it for you. So it's a rabbit hole. But
So this is a question for you. So what you think, like some foreign countries, they start using the US dollar and
So yeah, just to give you an example of that. So after Nixon took us off the gold standard in '71 and our money became fake, there was nothing to really support the dollar in the U.S. economy. So that's when in '74, we went into this military cooperation agreement with Saudi Arabia, which is called, that's what made us the petrodollar. And so we had this agreement with them where they had to sell their oil in U.S. dollars. So everybody needs U.S. dollars around the world. Well, during the pandemic, a couple things happened very quietly. Biden's administration did something where, well, let's just say that we no longer have that military cooperation agreement with Saudi Arabia. The Saudis are now selling their oil in the yuan, which is the Chinese digital currency, which is backed by gold and exchangeable for gold in the Shanghai exchange. So there's a lot of things when you start to study what's happening with money, which is showing you there's a trend towards the U.S. dollar weakening. The president of Argentina, he basically told people dump U.S. dollars. Like, get rid of them. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a new toilet paper, right?
A lot of people.
But right now we're living like in what's called the Roman circus, right? Which when Rome was falling, they had a circus every day and they kept the people entertained. Meanwhile, everything around them was falling. And by the time the barbarians, invaded Rome, people were like, what's going on with the mighty empire? So America could fall, the US dollar could fall. I'm not here to say if it is or it isn't. I'm here to say we need to be studying these things and then deciding for ourselves like what you're going to do about it, right? So that's the inflation tax, right? Your money is fake. We can just print money, makes things cost more. And that's why it's important to invest your money, have it work for you. So you're not here like, oh, I need to make more money. No, your money needs to make you more money. And then the second tax that I want to tell you about is what's called ignorance tax. Anyone ever heard of ignorance tax? All right, I'm gonna tell you what ignorance tax is, very simple. Suppose that you would like to make $100 million a year. All right? In fact, get your calculators out. We'll do it like this, please. This way is gonna be personalized, custom just to you. Everyone's gonna have their own answers. Don't look at anyone's paper. Everyone's answer is gonna be different. You're not gonna blurt out your answers. You're not gonna tell me your answers. This is just for you. I want you to put in your calculator $5 million. 5 million, please. Now, who here would like to make $5 million in a year?
Me?
Who here would like to make $5 million this year?
Me?
Okay, awesome. So you got 5 million in your calculator. Now I want you to subtract from that what you made last year. You don't have to blurt it out. You don't have to tell me. Don't let nobody see your paper. I want you to subtract what you made last year, approximately. Be generous. Add 25 on it, all right? Okay, now subtract that, all right? Whatever number is left, that's ignorance tax. That's how much you pay for not knowing how to make $5 million. Okay? Everything in life has a cost. Everything in life has a cost, but nothing is so expensive as the cost of not knowing. Okay? So if you have a number in mind that you would like to earn this year, if you have a number in mind that you would like to earn next year, and you're not currently on the trajectory to earn that, I would recommend to you that you learn what you need to learn. Okay? Donald Rumsfeld, who was a former Secretary of Defense, said there are known knowns. These are the things that we know. Like, you know it's raining outside. There are known unknowns. These are the things that we know that we do not know. Like, I don't know how to fly a plane. And I know that I don't know how to fly a plane. And if a plane's going down and the pilot passes out and I'm in charge, I'm in trouble. But then there are known unknowns. These are the things that you do not know that you do not know. These are the things that you must learn. The things that you do not know that you do not know. And so I commend you all here for coming out here, because we know what we're going to talk about. Oh, they're going to talk about financial literacy. Oh, they're going to talk about real estate. Oh, they're going to talk about this. But you didn't know what any speaker was going to say, right? And so coming here to know what you know that you do not know, that's the path, right? That's the path to reduce ignorance tax. Now, the last thing I want to say before I wrap up is I want to show you how, because a lot of people say this, and perhaps you've said this, right? Raise your hand if you ever said, man, if I had $1 million, I know what I'd do with it. If I had $2 million, I know exactly how I would invest, right? Man, I would never go broke again. Well, I'm going to show you where each of you has $2 million. Each of you. Okay? Because remember I said we're looking for the things that we don't know that we don't know. And so you're wondering, like, where I got $2 million at.
I think I know.
Where I got $2 million at, right? There's a story in the Bible that we might have heard. It was a story of the 3 talents, right? This rich man, this businessman, he gave 3 of his servants talents. Now, when we hear the word talent, a lot of times people don't know what that means. They think like, oh, well, many people know that he gave them gold, he gave them money. But does anybody know how much is a talent of gold? Okay. So depending on what country you were in, a talent was somewhere between 68 to 74 pounds of gold. Okay, so let's split the difference. Let's say it was 70 pounds of gold that he gave, right? So when you go by today's prices, 70 pounds times 16 ounces times current price of gold is about $2,000. We're talking about over $2 million. So one servant, he gave him 1 talent. Another servant, he gave them 2 talents. And another servant, he gave him 5 talents. And so he goes away, he tells them to do something with it and he'll be back, right? And this guy's a businessman. This guy invests his money. He puts his money to work. So when he comes back, the guy that had the 5 talents, which is $10 million, he's like, oh, what you do with it? Oh, I invested it, I doubled it. Great, 10 to 20, awesome. Second guy, 4.5 mil, I doubled it. Last guy, oh, I didn't want to lose your money, so I buried it. Right? And so he takes his talent away. He takes his 2 mil, he gives it to the other guy. Now we would look at him and be like, that's fair. Okay? So what's my point? Where's our talents? Our talents are our time. Okay? Every single day that you wake up, you have time. Okay? The difference between somebody who has a bunch of money in the bank and someone who doesn't is how they spend their time. That's it.